Hello, English 101 friends. We have arrived at assignment number 5, the research paper rough draft. Here, you will have an opportunity to begin to articulate answers to the research questions that you pitched in your research proposal. You will begin to formulate a thesis statement or a main claim, which is essentially just a 1 or 2 sentence answer or response to the research question that you pitched. You're going to begin to organize your evidence in a clear and logical way. That is to establish a framework for kind of talking through the answer to your question. You'll practice paraphrasing, quoting, and summarizing from your sources. And finally, you're going to practice citing your sources using APA-style citations and creating a works cited page. So this assignment is really letting you put together all of the pieces of research that you've been working on all semester, that you've been finding through your research, and to use those to offer a coherent, clear, compelling answer to your research question. This is a rough draft, so in no way does it have to be perfect, but it does give you an opportunity to start to put together a draft that's going to work for you and that's going to, again, provide an answer to the research question that you pitched. So you might want to think about your essay as a journey with a couple of parts. You're going to want to open with a hook, something that grabs your reader's attention and gets them to be interested in the subject that you're writing about. So you might want to tell a short anecdote. You might want to state a problem. You might want to ask a rhetorical question. That's the kind of question you ask that you don't necessarily expect a response to. Something like, what would you do if, or what would it be like for you if? But something in a sentence or two to get your reader interested, to grab their attention. After that, you want to spend a couple of sentences, this is still within that first paragraph, developing and justifying your research topic. So you could write about your personal experience as it connects to your research topic. You could relate the question that you asked in your research proposal to some sort of larger social issue if it's not already clear that it's connected, or you could explicate that connection. Or you could sort of lay out a framework for your research. How did you come across answers to your research questions? And why did you look to those particular sources for your answers? Finally, at the end of that first paragraph, you're going to want to state your thesis. You can think about your thesis as a 1 to 2 sentence articulation of the main claim that you're making. You could also think about it as a 1 to 2 sentence articulation of the answer to your research question. But you're going to want to take a stand on the issue that you're writing about in one way or another, and that stand, that take, becomes your thesis statement. Now, moving on to your body paragraphs, in those paragraphs, you're going to want to review and analyze your sources. So not just summarize your sources, but talk about the way that those sources work to support your thesis or your main claims. You're reviewing and you're analyzing them, and then you're relating them back to your thesis. You're relating them back to your main claim. And the way that you organize those body paragraphs, the way that you organize your review and analysis of your sources within those paragraphs really kind of depends on the structure that you want your paper to take. And we'll have another screencast a little bit later in this week that tells you about different strategies for organizing your evidence. Finally, then, at the end of the essay, you're going to want to review patterns that you might have discovered, answers that you've uncovered, further problems that you've identified, and kind of leave the reader with something, with something to think about. And that is your conclusion at the end of the essay. So, not necessarily a 5-page essay. You guys have about 5 pages minimum to fill here. So you don't necessarily want to think, this one paragraph does this, then 3 more, then another one at the end. But you want to kind of think about it as you have an introduction, and then you have a few paragraphs where it might be 3, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 6, maybe it's 4, but whatever number of paragraphs that work to support the thesis statement that you're making. And then finally, a concluding paragraph where you kind of sum up what you've learned, sum up the work that you've done, but you leave your reader with something to think about. Again, you want this draft to be about 5 pages long, and then you are going to, as we've talked about, quote or paraphrase your sources throughout. When you do that, you'll cite those sources in your paragraphs themselves using APA style citations, and then those in-text citations should also link to entries on another works cited page at the end of your paper.